I just recently discovered a highly illegal substance I like to call Facebook Marketplace. Picture this, you're scrolling and you see a couch. You think, I could definitely flip that couch for double the value. Suddenly, it's 3 a.m. and you're in too deep. This is basically gambling, but instead of losing money, you lose time, dignity, and the ability to stop. Each time I had a bit of free time, I would hop on and scroll to see if I could find anything interesting and profitable. The problem, a lot of the listings were mid or complete garbage. Scrolling through the junk just to find the gem was killing the thrill of it. If only there was something that could find the good items for me. Okay, here's the plan. I'm going to make a simple app. The main gist of it is that you type something in and then click search. Then the app politely commits a crime by fetching all of the Facebook Marketplace listings and saving them. Then I shovel those listings into an LLM and say, hey, please decide if this random couch is worth my time. It analyzes multiple factors and then it spits out a score and a recommendation, telling me whether this is a big brain flip or a financial crime. After that, I save the listing or nuke it out of existence. And to build all of this, I'm going to use Electron with TypeScript, because I enjoy suffering. Okay, so step 1, I need to get the data from the Facebook Marketplace. That shouldn't be too hard, right? Just use the Facebook API to get the marketplace listings. Well, turns out unless you're a university or a qualified researcher, Zuckerberg isn't giving you a key. So I got back to the drawing board and discovered this thing called Apify. It's a magical service that says, hey man, don't worry, we handle the illegal Facebook Marketplace scraping and then give you the data as an API, which sounds too good to be true, until I looked at the prices.
What the hell?
Bruh, I am not paying that much just to scrape a couch listing. So naturally, I made the only logical decision. I decided to scrape Facebook myself. I left this option as a last resort, mainly because while researching how to get Facebook data, pretty much everyone said it's a pain to scrape. But I didn't really have a choice, so I ignored everyone with experience and got to work. For the scraping, I decided to go with Playwright, which is basically a remote control for Chrome. So the game plan is as follows. Playwright drives the browser, loads marketplace listings, and then Cheerio extracts all of the listings data. Except there's a problem. Facebook does not like this. I checked if I could scroll the marketplace without logging in, and after a few scrolls, it hit me with the login rule. So that meant I was going to need to find a way to give the bot an account. That means logging into Facebook inside Playwright. My first idea was cookies. Facebook uses cookies to remember your login, so in theory, if I just copy them from my browser into Playwright, it should work. And it kind of did. Except Facebook threw a few errors since cookies alone weren't enough. There's also other things like local storage, session storage, and probably my social security number. Trying to manually copy all of this would be impossible, so I did some more research and found out that Playwright has a feature to save the entire browser context. So then the plan became, log in once manually and then snapshot everything like cookie storage and session IDs, save it to a file, and then the next time the bot wants, it loads the snapshot. With this, we finally have pure, uninterrupted scrolling. Alright, so that's it, right? Yes, but I like to torture myself, so it's still not done. Every time it runs, it opens a full browser window, which is kind of ugly. So, obviously, I wanted it to scrape in the background, like a normal sneaky little program. That's where headless mode comes in, which is just a browser with no UI, and most importantly, very sus. Because the moment I ran Playwright in headless mode using my logged in session, Facebook instantly logged me out. Turns out headless browsing gives off a strong
Sussy baka.
energy, so I started trying different things, like switching from Chromium to Firefox, tweaking some settings, flipping random flags I barely understand. Nothing seemed to work. Eventually, I found this library called PatchWrite. It's basically just Playwright, but it patches some headless giveaways so sites have a harder time detecting you. Also, the doc suggested switching engine from Chromium to actual Chrome, and somehow that worked. I verified this by running a function that launches the headless browser and checks if I'm still logged in. It basically just reads the HTML and checks if I'm on the Facebook homepage or back at the login screen. And finally, I stay logged in. Now for the actual scraping. I started with a function that takes a search query, then loads the marketplace results page for that term. After that, it returns a list of JSON objects for all the displayed items, such as title, price, image, all that basic stuff. But of course, it can't be that simple. I wanted more info, like the exact location and the description of the listing. Unfortunately, those aren't available on the results page, so the scraper needs to go into each individual listing and manually get the details for each one. To do this, I changed the function to only return a list of the IDs for the scraped listings. Then I wrote a second function that opens each listing page individually and extracts all of the detailed info. That worked, but getting the location was a bit of a pain. The listing location is shown as a visual map, not a clean string or number I can just grab. My first idea was to check if the latitude and longitude were being fetched when the page loads, and they were. I found them buried inside a massive, disgusting JSON blob inside of a script tag. But after testing, I realized it wasn't really that reliable, so I nuked all of that code and looked for another way. After a bit of more digging, I found out that the latitude and longitude were actually stored as attributes in the div that contains the map. Thankfully that works, and it was way more reliable and simple. With all the scraping done, there was only one possible next step. Not because it was necessary, but because it's legally required in 2026. For this, I used OpenRouter. It's basically an API that gives you access to multiple LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc., without having to switch libraries every time. I wrote a system prompt that turns the LLM into a big brain flipper. It takes all of the scraped listings and spits out a JSON, which has things like predicted profit, deal score, return on investment, and final verdict. After testing different models, I found out that the most accurate model was Gemini 2.5 Flash with web search on. I also planned on integrating the eBay API for more accurate results, but I felt that would be way too complex and finicky, so I just hoped that Gemini with web search would work for most of the listings. After that, I worked on actually making the app usable, which meant building all of the UI. For this, I used React with Tailwind alongside ShadCN for pre-made components. I started by adding things like the search bar, displaying listing results, and adding buttons to save or discard the listings. I also made it so that the listings get saved locally and added a filter so the scraper doesn't refetch the ones that were already scraped in the past. On top of that, I added sorting and filtering along with a number of other smaller features that improve the overall usability, but would take too long to cover individually. And with that, the app was finally done. Let me show you how it works. First, we're gonna have to log in with our Facebook account. And now it's gonna send me to the application. In here we have the main page, which is the marketplace search. In here we have multiple filters. And for example, I'm gonna search for car. After a while, we are gonna get the results. And if we click on the link, it's going to send us to the marketplace where we can actually message the seller and see all of the other details and images. If we go back here now, we have the other two buttons to discard or save the listing. For example, I'm going to save this one and I'm going to discard this one. Now if we go into saved, they are going to appear here, and also for the discarded ones. And we also have the pending review tab, which is where we have all the ones we haven't classified. And finally we have the settings page, which has our API key, and we have our coordinates, and if we fill these out, it's going to calculate how far away we are from the actual listing. Now it's time to put it to the test. I started by searching in the electronics category. The first solid lead was a full PC setup listed at $600, and the app estimated about $200 in profit. I offered $350 without the monitor, but the seller said he had other offers. Later he told me someone offered $450 for just a tower, so I came back with $450 for the full setup, same day pickup, and he accepted. I also found another PC with decent specs, but it was basically unusable with only 2GB of RAM. It was listed for $600 and the app still claimed there was a profit of $200. I offered $400 and got rejected, but we eventually settled at $440 and he threw in a cheap keyboard. To make that PC usable, I also had to search for some RAM, so I ended up buying 16GB of DDR4 RAM, which cost me about $25. The last pickup was a Kickfront mechanical keyboard for $50 that had just been listed. The app said it would resell for about $80, but I already knew these usually go for more, so I messaged him immediately and grabbed it before anyone else did. After picking everything up, I cleaned and reassembled the PCs, took photos and listed everything back on Facebook. If something didn't get interest, I slowly lowered the price and waited. After a few months, here are the results. The first PC sold for about 600, which put me at about 150 in profit. The app predicted 200, so it was close but optimistic. The second PC was a bit rougher. I listed it for 600 but ended up taking 500 as I hadn't gotten any offers in a while. After the RAM upgrade, that one only made me about $35. The app predicted 200. It probably didn't fully catch that the listing had basically no RAM. I definitely fumbled that one a bit. For the keyboard, I listed it high at first, but the demand just wasn't there. It finally sold for $75, giving me a $25 profit. The app's estimate was actually pretty accurate on that one. Altogether, I made about $210. Not amazing, but not terrible. I probably could have made more if I was more patient with the last two items, but I just wanted to finish this video. So yeah, it did make me some money, which is more than I can say for most of my other projects. The code's open source if you wanna try it, but it will probably break and Facebook will ban me. Until then, it works well enough.